Mrs. Esela Owusu-Ekufo, Minister for Communications, CEO of the Telecom Chamber, Ken Ashigbe, the CEO of Telcos here present, CEOs of banks, the Stock Exchange, GIBS, and captains of industry, the sponsors, invited guests, media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, and I'd personally like to thank all of you for your presence here as key stakeholders of Ghana's financial industry and the vibrant digital financial services ecosystem. I would like to congratulate the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications and the Financial Inclusion Forum, Africa, for putting together this platform, which without doubt will stimulate conversations that will facilitate market advocacy and guide policy interventions within the financial ecosystem. We're talking today about financial inclusion and the role of mobile technology in, enhancing financial inclusion. We have to understand in the first place why people have tended to be excluded from the financial system. This was an issue that came to the fore at the time I was at the central bank when Paul Akwa, the governor then, started, this deep conversation about how we address the issue of financial inclusion. We identified, of course, as all of us know, some of the key factors that have, inhibited inclusion of many people. And it's it was very demonstrable from the drama that we saw by the performance troupe that put it together. All the issues were there. The issue of identity. Can we uniquely identify people? If you don't have an identity, how do you open a bank account? That was a very basic issue that we had to confront, because banks would say, well, we don't know who you are. Maybe we give you a loan and you disappear and we cannot find you. We don't know your address. The address system was also another major issue. Literacy was one that would discourage people from going into banks and so on. We then also realized that we had a payment system which is so fundamental to inclusion, but the payment system that had evolved in Ghana since the colonial times was a payment system that was really geared for the banked population, not for the unbanked population. It was a payment system that if you were not within the bank, you had only access to cash. The cash was the way for those outside the banking system. So with the evolution of the banking system and the payment system that was geared to the banking system, you'd have checks, later on, direct debits and direct, credits and so on, credit cards and debit cards, with point-of-sale devices and all of that, those catered generally to a very limited population, very limited banked population. And so you had a large number of the unbanked. And we, at that time, around 2006, were estimating the unbanked population around 70% in Ghana at that time. And so you had this large unbanked population at the periphery of the financial system. But the challenge for us was how to bring them to the center. Because if you are really going to have an effective financial system, you cannot have such a large segment of your population outside it. And so we thought it was very important to have financial inclusion. And the research at the time, and including recent work from the IMF and the World Bank, has found that advancing financial inclusion through electronic payments, deposits, or insurance has potential positive effects on financial stability. And research further suggests that ignoring the link between financial inclusion and financial stability could result in costly financial crisis or continued financial exclusion that would hold back growth. We're also very interested in financial inclusion because of the impact on interest rates. Because if you have such a large number of people who are saving outside the financial system, then structurally you have a limited supply of savings into the financial system. But the demand is there. With a limited supply of savings, then interest rates will be high, relatively. And so we looked at the whole issue of monetary policy transmission. At the Monetary Policy Committee, we would reduce the monetary policy rate maybe by 100 basis points or 200 basis points, right, 1% or 2%, and then we will sit back and see what will the banks do. Then you reduce it by 1% or 2%, and the banks act as if they've not even heard what the central bank has just done, So you look at the data a month or so later, and there's very little movement, And of course, if the banks don't change their base rates and so on, they trickle down to interest rates on average and so on. So we basically said that, you needed to really rejig this system to allow an inclusion of a lot of the people outside so that the supply of savings into the banking system, into the financial system, would really go up. And of course, with that, with higher savings, higher investment growth, reduction in poverty, and so on, would follow. And so, as a central bank at that time, the central bank at that time really was now beginning to focus on inclusion. This wasn't, of course, the first time. In the 1970s, the central bank actually went up to set up rural banks under Dr. Amonikwe, and we set up rural banks and the rural banking system at that time. But we also thought that we needed to encourage a lot of financial inclusion. And for us at that time, it was just technology that was going to be our biggest ally in doing this. The banks, as at that time, as Dr. Seto was saying, were still very much in the old school mode. They had not seen what was coming. And we're trying to get them to understand how they needed to move on financial inclusion. But they were slow to come in. But the mobile phone companies had a different attitude. There's perhaps no more important revolution facing us today than the fast approaching digitization and the leveraging of technology in every aspect of human activity, from our homes to our offices, to the factory, to the farm, and of course in the financial sector. And many countries are leapfrogging in their development path through their desire to learn and innovate through applied technology. So much so that for many developing countries, their first banking experience will be digital rather than through the branch office, the traditional branch office. Opportunities exist for us to leapfrog many stages of our financial development. And technology, and mobile technology in particular, is disrupting old and inefficient ways of doing things and is enabling new innovative ways of doing everything. Through technology, we have achieved the things that seemed impossible only a few years ago. Today, we have 137% penetration of mobile voice subscriptions in our country. And the mobile phone in the hands of millions of Ghanaians is having a positive impact on people's lives. And Ghana currently is the fastest growing mobile market in Africa. It is worth highlighting that the mobile phone is revolutionizing every sector, not just the financial sector. We're talking of agriculture, health, entertainment, mining, aviation, fisheries, education, and more. And undisputedly, it is the mobile money space that we see the most innovation and impact when it comes to digital financial inclusion. So this is how we recognize the potential impact of the mobile technology in the area of financial inclusion. Of course, we are also seeing the experience of M-Pesa and Vodafone in Kenya. You know, M-Pesa had started in Kenya, and it really brought in a lot of people who were excluded in terms of the receipts of money and sending of money and so on. We decided to establish GIPS, the Ghana Interbank Payment and Settlement Services, as a separate unit outside the Bank of Ghana to let them focus on the payment system. Of course, mobile money started, but I think one of the key things that has happened in Ghana in the last 3 years, which has not yet happened in any other African country in this whole area of financial inclusion using mobile technology, is the area of mobile money interoperability. That, for us as Ghanaians, is something we should be proud of, because it hasn't happened. What we have, for example, in Kenya, you have interoperability between mobile companies. In Ghana, we have not just the interoperability between mobile companies, but interoperability between the mobile companies and the banks. The bank wallets and the mobile wallets, the bank accounts and the mobile wallets, you can move money between them. It's a real game changer. And as far as I know, this is the only country that has done it in the continent of Africa. But for us, it was so important to get done. And it could only be done with the cooperation of the players. The mobile companies, the banks, the central bank, you know, the chamber, everybody came together. And it was amazing the type of cooperation we had to do this. And it's hard, and this is probably why it hasn't been done in other countries. But Ghana, we were able to blaze the trail and to do it, and it is the first of its kind. But what this means, and why I think that sometimes we haven't really grasped the importance of what we have done in Ghana. What mobile money interoperability means, essentially, is that everyone with a mobile wallet practically has a bank account, practically. And this is what was being shown when Selom was up here showing all the different services that you could get from the mobile application. You could receive interest on your money, you could get loans, you could get, those are basic things that you expect to have from a bank account. You can use it as a current account and so on. Pay your taxes with it, receive money and so on. It's practically a bank account. And we have about 15 million people who are holding mobile wallets. That's huge, 15 million, you know. So pretty much, if you're looking at the adult population, you are looking at over 90% of the adult population having mobile wallets, and so practically having bank accounts. A couple of years ago, when I talked about mobile money interoperability, I made the point that every Ghanaian would practically have a bank account when this process is completed. At that time, many people didn't quite understand what I meant. People are still thinking in the frame of the old, go to a bank and open an account and this thing. No, just your mobile wallet alone gives you access to banking services. So that is what we have achieved today. And so when we talk about financial inclusion, let's acknowledge that Ghana has gone a very long way to solving this problem of financial inclusion. If we think in the way of the traditional bank accounts, we won't recognize the effort we have made, but we have done quite a lot in the area of financial inclusion with that. And you have seen that the banks are also now recognizing that they need to enter the fray in this area, and this is why GCB has launched G-Money. So you're going to have MTN money, GCB money, Barclays money, H.E Gold money, Vodafone. It's all great for Ghana and great for the great for the customers. It's really deepening financial inclusion across the country, and we would all be very happy with that. One of the things that I'm looking forward to, because there's a challenge which has also been pointed to, because we want to move into a cash-light society, which means we want the merchants to be receiving payments in non-cash instruments, right? That is what we want. We want to move away from this heavy dependence on cash. But so far, what we have seen with the mobile money transactions is, okay, you send somebody mobile money, they'll go to the agent and cash it out, and then take it and go and spend, right? So you've only just given a little longer space for the cash transaction to take place. But what we want actually is for the mobile money in that phone to be used to pay for goods and services. Your wachi, your cocoa, or whatever, trotro, all of these goods and services, you should use your mobile money to pay for them. And that is the only time we will now be moving away from that dependence on cash. And this is why I'm excited about what we are about to launch in 2 weeks' time, the universal QR code. And this is what will get us there, you know, and the universal QR code, as I said, will allow us to use our mobile phones, whether it's a YAM phone or a smartphone, to make payments, right? And you basically make payments, and the seller will receive instantly what you have paid. You know, so people don't have to really keep lots of cash with them in the Makola or whatever. You know, any seller, whether you are a granite seller or wachi seller or in Melcom or wherever, you can have your own QR code and you can receive payments. And so this may be a good vehicle. This would be a very good vehicle to allow, you know, us to move towards a cash-light society. So you take your Momo or whatever and pay. And it becomes very, very... Over the weekend, I was at a funeral. And I saw, of course, at these days, funerals, you have to have a bank sit there and collect the money, right? So the bank was sitting there, and I was like, I think very soon we should have the QR code printed on the funeral brochures, and you can just scan and pay your donation. Simple, and they will announce it, right? Yeah, I mean, rather than go and be having all these collections and all, just put the QR code. Someone will just use their Momo and put their name and pay. And then you are announced, we have received this from Mr. Ken Ashigbe, 500 Ghana cedis. And then we move on, right? So we can simplify. The trotro, you come in, a lot of the people may not even account well to the master at the end of the day, right? But if there's a QR code, you just use and pay your trotro fare. It's very simple. No quarrels about changes. So we need to now move in that direction where we are using this mobile technology to actually effectively make Ghana a cash-light society at the merchant level. I think this is where we are going. And Ghana is, of course, when we launch it in 2 weeks' time, we will be the first country in Africa to have a universal QR code. First country. And so it's interoperability at the QR code level. QR codes are here, but they are not interoperable. And we are bringing in together the standards that will make it interoperable, so that whether you are using Airtel or Tigo or Vodafone or MTN, it's still going to be interoperable. That's what we are asking. So we are asking for cooperation for everybody to make it a success. It will be very, very good for Ghana, and we will be joining an elite. Singapore only launched their universal QR code last year. Just last year, Singapore did theirs, and we are coming in this year to do ours. But it will change everything. It will really wrap a hard wire around all these reforms we are making in the payment system, so that you don't necessarily have to go and cash out everything you receive. You can spend it on your mobile phone for any seller. And so I think that the banks and so on, you all have a lot of work to do to acquire merchants and so on. But don't sit in your offices. Learn from MTN. Go on the buses and everything and acquire everybody. So anyway, government is very committed to ensuring that the average Ghanaian, no matter where they live in the country, will benefit from our leadership across the financial technology sector. And at the same time, we're protecting our national economic security, even as we leverage the use of technological tools and infrastructure. I must say that the Minister for Communications is very, very keen on this whole cybersecurity matter, and she's taking it to a very, very solid level for us, and it will help us a lot. As we go through all of this, we have to make sure that the cybersecurity protocols are all well respected. And I would like to acknowledge the support and the collaborative impact from the Ministry of Communications, Finance, and the Bank of Ghana over the years in creating what we have today. We've really made a lot of progress, and we are going to assure you, all the innovators, we are going to assure you that government wants to see transformation, and we want to create an ecosystem of innovation. And so we don't want to get in your way, either as regulators and so on. We want to open the path for you to think outside the box, to bring in new ideas, and we will support you as long as we are going to see this contribute to the growth of this economy. I'm very, very excited about the future of Ghana and the future of Africa, and I think it is in the area of technology. If we grasp it and use it, we are going to leapfrog and modernize and transform this economy. Thank you very much for your attention.